Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Pranal Walia and I'm back with another video. So guys, in today's video we have a really special guest with us and her name is HioTong. So in today's video we are gonna ask her about her experience about PhD in Canada, and if you guys are new to the channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and let's get started with today's video. So first of all, HioTong, I would really like to thank you for coming to my channel and sharing your valuable experience with my audience.
You're welcome.
And let's start with your introduction first. So can you give my audience a little bit background about yourself?
Yeah.
Where you come from and what's your current stage of study?
Of course. So my name is HioTong Kuan. Kuan is my last name. HioTong is my first name. And I'm from Macau in China. I'm currently pursuing a doctoral degree in applied social psychology. And now my official title is doctoral candidate, because now for my degree remaining is the dissertation session, which is a research project, and I study women's sexuality. And after that, I will do a 500-hour internship, and after that, I can be graduating.
That's a really good news. So that means you're close about to get graduated now.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, why did you choose PhD though? Why psychology?
So that's two questions. First, why psychology? So I always like to study human experience as a social being. So that psychology would be the perfect subject to go to. And why PhD? So after I did my master, so I didn't mention earlier, I did my master in US. So I did master and PhD separately. And after I finished my master, I just feel like that's not enough in terms of like I still want to learn more, and I love doing research and having theoretical debate. So PhD is the perfect environment for me. And also it's fairly common for people in this major to pursue PhD. So I think that's important for your audience to know too.
So alright, HioTong, that's very interesting to know about you, where do you come from and why do you choose PhD. In the next section now we are going to discuss about the application phase. So the very first thing which many of the candidates get in their mind is a very big question to themselves. Why do everyone wants to pursue a PhD degree?
Yeah, that's a really good first question to ask yourself. And I think you have to have a clear idea why do you want to do that, because like what I mentioned earlier is a very long time commitment. So oftentimes I would say you will have to consider, like, do you do it for money? Because some occupation, maybe a PhD versus master degree, has a huge wage gap. Some may not be that necessary. And another thing is, like, do you do it for passion? It's not like you only do it for fun, but because of, again, a long commitment, you have to love what you are doing to a certain extent. So, and over time you may hate what you are doing, but you know, when you go in, you have to love what you are doing. And third is, some people, they have a master degree, and then because of the career requirement, they go on to do a PhD. And of course, when you do a PhD, you have to complete a master first. But some programs, they are combined, which we can touch on that later.
What about the checklist? So before choosing the program, we prepare a checklist in which we write which country we want to go, which program we want to choose, what specialization we want to do in. So how is it for you? How was the checklist for you?
So, well, that is a very good start, because I also need to learn from somewhere that I actually need to prepare a checklist in terms of like which program I want to go. You know, sometimes you just Google it and then you look at the first 10 programs and that's it. But I would recommend every one of you think about what program you want to go to. Is that program like can give you what you want to learn, like the kind of skill? And then beyond the program, you want to learn more about the university which offer the program. And of course, beyond that, do you want to do it overseas? Which country do you want to go to? So that is a huge part that you have to do before you even start the application. So short list, at least I would say 5 programs. But on average, people will do maybe 12, 13, even up to 15 programs. And of course, there are other considerations that I will talk about in a bit, that to determine like how many programs you want to shortlist before your application starts.
So as you just talked about the 5 programs, you told my audience to shortlist. So what are the factors determining the choice of the program?
Yeah, many actually. So first of all, location, right, which I had mentioned. But in terms of the program, you will learn a lot about them going on their university website and program website. And like, for example, if you want to go for a research-based program like me, you will want to go to a university you know their research base. And if you are pursuing a degree that is more applied based, you will want to know what kind of support they have. Maybe some university have better connection to the field, to like into the industry basically. So maybe that would be more opportunity for you to connect you to your co-op, to your internship, and to your future job. So those things you may want to learn about it. And another factor is, because let's say if you are going to pursue your PhD overseas, you will want to know if the university has like a representable student body of international students. So if you are going to a university or a program that only you yourself as an international student, there are a lot of challenge that you may encounter that local student they may not encounter. So you would want that kind of support. And this is something I think oftentimes we don't consider when we are pursuing a degree, because what we think about is just finish the degree and graduate and get out.
Get out of the college and start earning as soon as possible.
But throughout, support is really, really important. It's beyond your family, friends, because they are so far away. You need local support. And local support you can get is from the university, and of course later on from your peer group, from your friends that you made. And course offering. So use myself as example. My program has different classes that I can choose from, but some program they restricted that you don't have a lot of option to choose elective, so that you want to go through their syllabus, you want to go through their curriculum to see if those courses they offer match to the skill that you want to learn. For example, for my degree or for my program, we have a program evaluation course, and I know that is a very valuable skill, so I would definitely want to look for a program with curriculum have that course. And secondly, because it's a PhD program, a long time, so some courses it can take a 3-year rotation. So then you have to time it accordingly. Like if you miss this year's course for whatever reason, then you know you will not able to take that course 3 years later. Will that be the only course that basically drag you or preventing you from graduating? Another thing is, so beside courses, of course, when you apply to PhD, oftentimes you apply to a specific faculty member or researcher. So you will want to look into how many faculties is in the department and their research interests. Because oftentimes some faculty members, they don't like to take on students that have research interests completely different than theirs. Some are more open-minded. So those are things that you can email the faculty member, email the researcher to ask, like basically gauge what their interest is. Another thing is some program, their researcher-student ratio perhaps matters. Like for my program, we have very small ratio. In fact, that is very important because there's a lot of seminar style courses. Seminar style is we read article and then we discuss, we have a good conversation, versus you just sit there like undergrad classes, you just passively learning. We are doing active learning in PhD program. So those are very important factor for me. And of course, lastly, I would encourage all of you to reach out to current students as well as alumni to ask them questions that you may find it difficult to ask, like ask the department, like for example, the specific researcher that you want to work with, ask this person's student, and you want to learn about their mentoring style, stuff like that. So I would say these are major determining factor for me.
That's a really good point to add. So once the course is decided, so how do we actually start the application process now?
Yeah, so once you shortlist all the program that you decide to apply, you will want to ask for at least 3 good recommendation letter. Why I say good is because you cannot just go to an instructor that barely know you to ask them for a recommendation letter. They can give you one, but it's not going to be stellar. So you will want to make sure to contact at least 3 faculty member, researcher, instructor that they agree to give you a good recommendation letter. And secondly is language efficiency test, especially if you decided to pursue your PhD overseas. That is a requirement. So you need to make sure that you're ready and you have the score in time. And lastly is GRE. So a lot of graduate program, PhD programs specifically, they ask for GRE score. So for that, you have to prepare. That one takes a while.
And I think you forgot to add one last thing, your GPA from your
Ah,
last
yeah.
program.
So for GPA too, so you need to, if your GPA is you think is not good enough, try to figure out how to improve that. And of course, you need to request transcript, and those things you have to prepare too, because sometimes it can take time. So time management is the key for applying PhD program, because there's specific deadlines for each program, and you have to keep track of all of them.
And just a general question, how much time does it take on an average for the entire application process? What do you think?
I would say students typically start to think about it a year ago. So typically for PhD program, at least in the States and in Canada, I cannot speak for other countries, their deadline is the end of the year. So you may need to think about, do you want to pursue a PhD probably the beginning of the year? And then maybe in March or April, you will start to prep for GRE, because if you, let's say that's the last year of your undergrad, so you are still doing your undergrad courses. So once that is done, then you can deal with the GPA report.
Yes.
But during that time, you will have to prepare for language efficiency tests like TOEFL or IELTS and GRE. These two are basically standardized tests. So regardless which program you go to, you will need to provide those information.
Yes. And now that you've told how the application process looks like, so can you talk about how the waiting period was like for you? The process after you have applied and you're waiting for a response from your professors and from the different universities.
Yeah, so for the waiting period, honestly, during that time, there's not much you can do, but I would say try to reach out to current student or alumni to get to know more about the program that you think you have a good chance to get into. And of course, good chance to get into, again, it determined by your GRE score. And if you find that information, some program they do provide it. They will say their acceptance on average, their students' GRE score. So you kind of get a sense of like how good of a chance that you can get into a program. Number of program actually determine how much money that you need to spend on applying, because each university, they have different application fee. And on top of that, you have to request different GRE report, not different, like the number of GRE report to each school. And then you have to request transcript, which also costs money. On top of that, some universities still only accept mailing application instead of online application. So you have to count that into your expenses as well in terms of mailing service. Because let's say you are running out of time, you have to mail it expedited. Then it costs a lot of money as well. And especially if you are applying overseas school, then you may want to do a tracking because you don't want your application package get lost. So all of this add up.
HioTong, you forgot to add, there is one essay which I remember, which is also called as statement of purpose in our case. So do you guys have that statement of purpose? And what about the resume? Do they also ask for your updated resumes?
Thank you for adding that too. They are very big too. Basically, regardless which program you apply to, they require you to submit a CV, which is different than resume. So resume oftentimes is just like 2 pages, but CV, you have a lot more flexibility to add all of your accomplishment in it, and it's very academic focused. So I will recommend all of you to check out how to construct a CV, because again, it's different than resume. So don't confuse between the two. And in terms of statement of purpose, yes, we have to write that. Some school, they ask you very generic, just give them one. Some school, they provide a specific question, so you have to address those questions. Some school, they will ask you to apply to a particular researcher, and your statement of purpose is going to appeal that researcher, why they need to accept you, why would they want to work with you as a PhD student. So those are some things you need to keep that in mind, because that again takes time. It's not like copy and paste that you can apply to 15 programs. Actually, I forgot to mention one important thing earlier about recommendation letter. So at the beginning, when you ask the instructor or researcher or your PI for a good recommendation letter. Let's say they agree, great. So I would recommend you to keep them posted, because a lot of programs, they ask you to type in their contact information. So I would recommend you to send them an email, let them know you're applying how many programs, what should they expect. You just submit the information so they can prepare in time, because again, the most tailored personal recommendation letter is the best. So you want to give them that time and you want to show them your appreciation.
So thank you so much for sharing your experience about the
you're
application
welcome.
process. And now that you guys know about the application process, now let's ask HioTong about her experience during the program. What about her academic life and how this program is treating her?